10 Sinister Secrets Revealed, the most spine-chilling tales that haunted our grandparents' lives. Sarah thought she was free. Free from the relentless screech of sirens, the suffocating crowds, and the constant anxiety of city life. She pulled into the quiet streets of Maple Grove, her two children Mia and Noah excitedly chattering in the backseat, unaware of the underlying darkness cloaking their new home. But soon, sinister whispers from the shadows would unravel the facade of paradise that Sarah desperately clutched. It was a balmy evening when Sarah first met Mr. Hawthorne, the neighborhood's enigmatic elder. With his wild white hair and eyes that seemed to pierce right through her, he became the harbinger of unsettling stories. "Beware the woods," he warned, voice gravelly with age and urgency. "Many have wandered in, never to return." A chill raced down Sarah's spine. She laughed it off, brushing aside his oddities, focusing instead on the sound of Mia's giggles and Noah's bright smile, convinced that this suburb would shield them from harm. But shadows crept in as days passed, tainting the bliss she had hoped for. Mia began to talk of dark figures lurking in her room shadows with eyes that watched her sleep. Noah, once bubbly and full of life, turned withdrawn and sullen, plagued by whispers in the night. "Mom, there are voices," he whispered, eyes wide. With heart pounding, Sarah tucked them in, assuring them it was just their imagination, never acknowledging the knot of dread tightening in her chest. Then came the night that shattered her illusion. She heard it first, a soft whisper of mommy crackling through the stillness of the house. She bolted upright, heart racing. Noah was missing. Panic surged through her veins like ice water. Her voice rose above the night as she called for him, the hollow echoes mocking her. Neighbors rushed out, concern painted across their faces, yet there was something behind their worried gazes, something that felt off. And Mr. Hawthorne, standing with a strange glint in his eyes, warned her. "Don't go into the woods." "Why not?" "My son is in there." She snapped, urgency fueling her desperation. The trees loomed, dark and inviting, an unholy lure that seemed to beckon her. Ignoring the tremors of fear, she plunged into the forest, calling Noah's name, the shadows growing thicker with each step. Whispers echoed in the air, chilling her spine, each step feeling like a descent into an abyss. As she ventured deeper, strange symbols carved into the trees sprang into view, grotesque and twisted. The air hung heavy, thick with a palpable dread. What did they mean? Were they warnings or calls to join some ancient ritual? Just as she heard Noah's soft voice again, a realization hit her like a punch. Who was truly keeping her children safe? The community she trusted began to feel like a carefully woven trap. Were they merely neighbors, or something darker, longing for her little ones to be another tale woven into their folklore? Sarah stood frozen at the heart of the woods, caught between terrifying choices. Every passing second felt like a heartbeat echoing into silence. Trust shattered like glass around her, and only one question remained: would she return to the safety of those enticing smiles, or would she venture into the unknown to rescue her child, clinging to the hope that there still might be light in the darkness? The darkness wrapped around Sarah like a suffocating shroud as she called out for Noah, each cry swallowed by the forest's ominous silence. The trees appeared to lean closer, twisting their limbs like fingers reaching for her. Her heart thundered in her chest, a fierce reminder of her vulnerability. A gust of wind stirred, carrying a faint sound of childless laughter. It was soft, playful, and chilling all at once. "Mommy!" Noah's voice echoed through the trees, strained yet filled with an odd kind of joy, as if he were already entranced by whatever lay deeper in the darkness. "Mommy, come play." Something in that invitation sent shivers racing down Sarah's spine, battling against the surge of maternal instinct urging her to follow. With every step deeper into the woods, the ground turned soft and spongy beneath her feet, like walking across a grave covered in moss. She pressed on, heart in her throat, absorbing the fading light. The shadows around her grew thick, and the outside world, the sound of cars, the chatter of neighbors faded completely, replaced by a haunting stillness. A twig snapped behind her, and she spun around, breath catching in her throat. No one. Just the trees, whiter now, gaping mouths, their bark etched with those grotesque symbols. They seemed to writhe and shift, warning her or perhaps calling her deeper. Imagining the worst, Sarah hesitated, an icy dread pooled in her gut. What could be lurking? "Just keep moving," she muttered to herself, shaking off the despair like a wet blanket. She couldn't let fear consume her, not while Noah was out there. Then she heard it, a sweet yet eerie melody drifting through the air. It beckoned her with each note, pulling her forward. As she followed the sound, an otherworldly glow flickered just past a thicket ahead. Her heart raced. Could it be Noah? But something inside her warned, don't go. Still, she moved toward the light, past branches that clawed at her shirt as if trying to hold her back. The singer sounded close now, a ghostly hum weaving through the air, mingling with her confusion, and there, in a clearing, were shadows dancing under the moonlight. But they weren't just shadows, they twisted in forms that resembled figures. Children, she realized, but their faces were hollow and their limbs distorted as if they didn't belong. And in the center of that ghastly procession was Noah, his laughter echoing brightly among the jagged shapes. Noah! She screamed, the sound tearing through her throat. Her heart lurched as she leapt forward, but something gripped her ankle. A hand? A root? A chill raced up her leg, rooting her to the spot, rendering her immobile. The children turned to her, eyes glinting with a vacuous hunger. They whispered in unison, "Stay with us, forever." Panic surged as Sarah wrenched free, breaking whatever hold they had. She lunged toward her son, but as she reached, he twisted away, joining the macabre dance. Noah! As she reached for him, the clearing darkened. Shadows encroached, snuffing out the light. A surge of terror propelled her, and she forced herself to turn away, running blindly, branches clawing at her, but the darkness welcomed her with open arms, and in that pitch-black void, the laughter of the children haunted her every step, her heart frantically pounding against the oppression of despair. The woods grew louder, the whispers now a cacophony, echoing around her. Join us as she stumbled, breathless and terrified, she knew she was nowhere close to safety. The question loomed: was she able to escape this malevolent force, or was Maple Grove merely a prelude to a harrowing fate? And what awaited her in the darkness if she failed to find Noah? Just then, a cold realization dawned on her. If she found Noah and got out alive, what then? What would the town expect from her? She took one last look back toward the clearing, her soul aching, knowing the truth might be even more horrifying than losing her child. Sarah stumbled through the tangled underbrush, heart racing, the thuds echoing like a drum in her ears. The laughter faded, but the fluttering panic surged stronger than ever. The hands of the forest reached out, snagging her clothes. Each touch felt like a warning, a reminder of the unseen watchers lurking just beyond her sight. Holding her breath, she forced herself to take a step. Then another. The cold sweat trickled down her back, mingling with dirt and fear. She couldn't afford to stop. It felt like the forest itself was trying to swallow her whole. Noah! She cried again, voice raw, desperate. The emptiness of the woods fell back on her, smothering her. A whisper rushed through the branches, "Mommy!" "Keep going," she chanted to herself, teeth clenched and fingers curled tight into fists. The trees swayed lightly, as if giggling at her struggle. Each movement forward made her feel like a minnow being pulled into an abyss. Then came another sound, a rustling, closer now. Her instincts screamed danger. Whipping her head to the side, she spotted movement, dark, hulking shapes slipping between the trees, their forms obscured by shadows. Were they children? Or something else entirely? Noah! She shouted again, voice breaking, but the name fell flat in the heavy air. Suddenly, the pitch of the myriad whispers changed, and they seemed to mock her. Find him, join him. The thought sent cold tendrils of dread wrapping around her heart. She paused, heart frozen, breath caught. A wild thought shot through her mind: what if Noah truly wanted to stay? What if he was playing? What if he preferred the world of shadows over reality? Tearing herself away from that horrifying idea, Sarah stumbled deeper into the woods, weaving between trees that felt alive, their bark whispering secrets as she brushed against them. The fear clung to her, tangled with the certainty that she would not leave this place without Noah. She wouldn't let this cursed forest claim him, not now. But then, the ground shifted beneath her. A low rumble surged, followed by a pulsing heartbeat. The earth was alive, with a rhythm deep enough to drown out her own. The laughter swelled again, wrapping around her, pulling her off balance. "What do you want?" she yelled, finding courage in her despair. "Let him go." The answer came not from the shadows but from behind her, something far worse. A figure emerged, trembling and pale. It stumbled into the thick fog that cloaked the woods in a ghostly haze. Her heart sank as she recognized the dark curls, the thin frame, the familiar terror in Noah's eyes. "Mommy! I want to stay!" he cried, reaching out toward her, his sweet voice now chillingly vacant. "It's fun here, you'll love it." "Noah, no!" she screamed, feet pounding the ground toward him. But before she reached him, the grotesque children surrounded her, all hollow eyes and grinning mouths, laughter throbbing like a heartbeat strong and taunting. A cold wind swept through, lifting her hair like fingers brushing her neck. Entranced, Noah twirled among them, and for a moment, a flicker of joy lit his face, then vanished as dread set in. The shadows whispered, drawing him closer. A part of her wanted to run, to flee, to save herself, but as the figures advanced, something primal surged within her, a mother's love ignited like a fire in her chest. "Noah!" she howled, charging forward. "I'm coming for you!" As she sprinted through the throng of children, they erupted into shrieks, echoing her anguish. The pulse of the earth quickened, and she felt a sickening pull beneath her feet, dragging her down, threatening to swallow her whole. With one last reach for Noah, she felt a hand grasp her wrist. It was cold, clammy yet familiar. She turned, eyes wide. It was him, staring at her with an expression so empty, so lost. The world around them groaned, eager to claim them both. Dread pooled in her gut as she realized the truth. What lay beneath the surface of Maple Grove was more than just a mere darkness, it was a desperate hunger. And for once, she understood. But understanding was not escape. She felt the ground trembling below them, the air thickening with despair. What if she couldn't pull Noah back? "Please, fight it!" she cried, as shadows surged, reaching for them both. The forest roared around them, and in that moment, Sarah knew the battle had only just begun. Would they survive what awaited them? Would they escape the shadow's insatiable hunger? As the darkness pressed in, they stood at the precipice. What awaited them was a sinister choice, one that could change everything. "No!" Sarah shouted, her voice tearing through the clamor of laughter. The suffocating laughter of the twisted children surrounded her, echoing off the trees, drowning her in despair. She yanked her wrist free from Noah's grasp. The chill sunk deeper, as if the forest itself was exhaling a foul breath, filled with promises of despair. "Noah!" she screamed, rushing at him, pushing the grotesque figures aside. Their hollow eyes slashed at her sanity, but she couldn't look away. She needed to pierce the veil that spread between them, to wipe that vacant joy from his face. Each step felt monumental, the laughter growing louder, wrapping around her tighter. The forest shifted again. The ground seemed to ripple beneath her feet like a living thing. Scattered branches tangled with her legs, clinging like skeletal hands, while a chill wind whispered, join us, no." She gasped, her voice hoarse but determined. "I won't leave you. We can go home." Noah's smile faded, replaced by confusion. "But Mommy, it's perfect here. Look." He turned, flinging his arms wide. "Everyone is happy. They want us to play." Sarah felt her heart crack, the deep fissures gnawing at her resolve. "Noah, listen to me. This isn't real. This isn't your home." The children, shadows of who they once were, began to circle around both of them, their laughter morphing into cruel mirth. With adrenaline surging through her veins, Sarah charged forward, but the throng surged back, blocking her path. Their bodies knit together, forming a wall of writhing darkness, laughing in twisted glee. She tried to push through, but the voices reverberated in her mind, let him stay, let him play. Panic unfurled in her chest. A battle waged within her, despair clawing at her resolve. She couldn't lose her son, not to these shadows, not to this chaos that promised joy but tasted of rot and despair. "Please!" she cried, desperation spilling over. The shadows pulsed, a heartbeat in the dark, the children inching closer in a dance that felt primal and ancient. Something deep within her roared against the fear, it ignited a spark of defiance amidst the encroaching dark. "Back off!" she shouted, thrusting her hands out. "You won't take him." In that moment, something shifted. The laughter faltered, and Noah took a step back. The light in his eyes flickered, you could see the fight within him. "Mommy." "I?" "Yes." You can fight it, Sarah urged, her voice breaking but fierce. Listen to me. We can get out. Together. The children paused, glancing at each other, confusion playing on their faces, their grins faltering. For the first time, the shadows dimmed in their presence. A fragment of hope ignited in Sarah's heart, but it was almost immediately extinguished as a sickly voice broke through the silence. Join us, little one. You'd be happier here. Let her go. An unseen force rippled through the woods, sending a wave of dread washing over Sarah. The trees began to sway ominously, their branches bending as if the forest was alive and angry. No! She yelled, gripping Noah's shoulders, shaking him gently. Do not listen to them. Fight back. For every heartbeat, the tension thickened, drawing in. The shadows began to swell again, dark tendrils reaching, licking at her skin, pulling her deeper into their deceitful embrace. Sarah could feel the forest breathing, hungry for their fear. Noah blinked rapidly, eyes darting, shifting between the shadows and his mother. Mommy, help me. Just focus on me. Focus on home. She urged, but the shadows didn't take kindly to her defiance. The children shrieked in protest, their voices merging into a singular, screaming chorus of rage. Then, without warning, the ground erupted beneath them, and Sarah felt herself slipping, the earth cracking, ready to swallow them whole. Panic ripped through her as she grabbed Noah's hand tighter. She would not lose him now. They needed to stand against the tide. Trembling, she stole a glance at the faceless children, at the shadows that sought to crush them in a dark embrace. She had to remind Noah of the light, of everything that waited beyond these cursed woods. Fight, Noah. Remember the sun. She cried, but even as she spoke, the forest roared louder, an angry beast awakening. With one last look at the pulsing darkness, as it brimmed with hunger, the two braced themselves. They were at the brink of an unknown abyss, the forest waiting to clasp them into the dark. Would they resist the call of the shadows? Or would they be consumed by the forest's insatiable appetite? The struggle was far from over. Fear clawed at her throat, but she would not let the darkness win. They were about to fight for their souls, and then she heard a distant whisper, a voice softer than the devil's call, reaching through the haze. Remember, before the woods took you. What did that voice mean? The ground beneath them trembled, a malevolent rhythm that matched the throbbing in Sarah's chest. The shadows twisted like serpents, hissing words too low to comprehend but heavy with threats. They were close, closer than before, whispering promises that tangled her thoughts. Just let go. No. Sarah shouted, squeezing Noah's hand as if her grip alone could keep him anchored. Listen to me, Noah. You're stronger than this. But the voice echoed in her mind. It was soothing, like the lullabies she used to sing to him at bedtime, soft and so dangerously sweet. She shook her head, forcing herself to remember. The sun. The park. Remember building sandcastles? Tasting lemonade? Noah's brow furrowed, and for a fleeting moment, confusion flitted across his face, but it quickly faded away as the shadows whispered louder, drowning her out. The laughter returned, layered with malice, as if the very forest was mocking her. We play forever. Join us. She stepped closer, blocking the shadows from Noah's view. Noah, you don't want this. You want to go home. Mommy, they're my friends. Tears pooled in his bright eyes, mixing with the dark against his cheeks. Those aren't your friends. They're nothing but lies. She felt her heart race, almost suffocating under the weight of the encroaching darkness. The ground opened wider, a gaping maw. Shadows stretched, eager to consume them. Sarah could feel the energy shift, the forest churning with anticipation. All around her, twisted faces of the children pulsated, their joy disintegrating into sinister glee. Every glance they exchanged sent shockwaves of dread through her. Run! She yelled, her voice shattering the cacophony. And just as she moved, the dark tendrils whipped forward, ensnaring her ankles. The pain struck hard, like teeth sinking into flesh. Noah! She cried as she stumbled, almost toppling. The shadows shifted, cackling wickedly at her misstep. The mischievous delight in the darkness might send her spiraling into the abyss. Noah! Come to me! In the split second that felt like an eternity, she noticed the light, a glimmer in Noah's eyes that defied the darkness. For a heartbeat, she took a step back and felt him pull. Noah! She gasped, and with a last desperate tug, their hands intertwined. Then came the surge like a spark igniting a flame. Noah's grip tightened. I remember, Mommy. He shouted, confidence spilling from his small frame, enough to make the encroaching shadows waver. It sparked something within Sarah. But the laughter rose again, 1,000 voices crying out, trying to drag them down. You cannot escape. Not forever, she shifted, moving shoulder to shoulder with her son, bracing as darkness poured closer. We have to go. Now. They stumbled backward, feet slipping against the loosened earth. A surge of force pushed against her, a raw primal energy that pulled. Noah's grip began to falter, and as desperate thoughts filled her mind, another voice broke through the chaos, a gentle croon, like a distant memory, that made her blood run cold. Welcome back, Sarah. It's time to remember what you lost. It's a trap. Sarah shouted, her heart racing as the chilling words sank in. But where was the source? Where did it come from? She felt like she was spinning, and she grasped at reality as though it were sand slipping through her fingers. As the shadows encroached and darkness clawed at her soul, she grasped fiercely at Noah. We must push through. We can do this. The shadows twisted violently, howling in rage as if her defiance had struck a nerve. In one final motion, Sarah released the grip she had on her fear and focused solely on the warm light of Noah, the purest emotion rising within her. Together! She cried out, lifting her face defiantly against the teeming darkness. And as they strained against the shadows, she could feel the voice at her back, soft yet menacing. Do you really wish to go back? With one last hope, they plunged into the heartbeat of the shadows, entwined. Was it strength or madness that drove them? Did they cross the line between light and dark? Whatever awaited them, it charged closer, but the fight was just beginning. Could love shield them from the terrible truth, or was fate already sealing their destiny in the forest's grotesque embrace? Ahead loomed an opening in the trees, a faint light glimmered. But the deeper question lingered, were they heading towards salvation or another trap lying in wait? The light flickered like a dying star, casting eerie shadows that danced around them as Sarah clutched Noah's hand tighter. A pulse of hope surged within her, a surge that battled fiercely against the encroaching darkness. Stay close, Noah. We can make it. But the shadows hissed, a swirling fog of dread that crawled up her legs, gnashing at the edges of her resolve. You think you can escape? You will remember. You will join us. The ground was softening beneath her, a ravenous pit that hungered for their fall. Each frantic step backward felt like wading through molasses, the air thick with despair. It almost felt alive, brushing against her skin, coaxing her to yield. A shout from Noah broke her concentration. Mommy! There are faces in the light. She turned her head slowly, dread creeping up her spine. Pale faces emerged from the illuminated haze, their mouths wide in laughter, their eyes hollow and hungry. They beckoned her with tiny hands, fingers stretched out like claws. Join us, Sarah, we can be a family again. Her heart raced, the sound pounding in her ears like a war drum. No! She yelled, teeth clenched. You're not my family. But the shadows were clever, whispering lies that grated against her sanity. What if you could forget? They cooed, their voices now smooth like glass. Live unburdened, in blissful ignorance. Noah, we can't trust them. Sarah's voice was a shudder, tethered to doubt. She risked a glance toward the light, but it only revealed more gnarled faces pressing against the fragile boundary, their laughter growing as they sensed her hesitation. Noah, focus on me. She pulled him closer, desperation clawing at her throat. Think of the day we decided to bake cookies. The sugar, the messy flour all over the counter. The memory flickered in his eyes, a brief moment of clarity. We made a mess. He shouted, a small smile breaking through his fright. Yes. We did. But it was fun. We were happy. The shadows writhed violently, sensing their connection. Your happiness is here. All your wishes granted forever. What do you want, Sarah? The darkness demanded, swirling faster, circling them with malevolent joy. To feel empty, or to feel your grief? It was like a low growl, vibrating through Sarah's very being. I want my son. My real son. She cried, her voice trembling as the glee of the shadows shifted into rage. For every word of resistance, the darkness retaliated. The energy around them thickened, pulling at her, dragging her down almost to the ground. The whispers became a cacophony, overlapping with the voices of children that warped into something more sinister, their faces melting into grotesque shapes. You will wish to stay. You will join us. Noah, hold on to me. She yelled, feeling the earth shift beneath them, forming jagged edges like a maelstrom of lost souls. No! Noah cried, panic breaking through. I want to go home. With every ounce of strength, Sarah braced herself, the images of their life together flooding her mind, thoughts colliding under the weight of the darkness that sought to consume them. Her love for Noah ignited a fire inside her, a force that became palpable, swirling through her veins. We choose light. We choose love. The shadows recoiled for a heartbeat, their laughter faltering. In that split second, the light flared brighter, pushing back against the encroaching tide. The ground trembled violently, as if the forest itself repulsed the darkness, and Sarah surged forward, feeling the grip of her son against her, solid and real. Run! They propelled themselves toward the light, but as the shadows twisted violently behind them, a final message pierced the air. You cannot escape your past. It will always follow. Sarah's breath hitched, uncertainty clawing at her throat as they barreled into the light and felt the warmth envelop them, but would leaving one darkness lead them into an even greater one? As they stumbled through the breach, shadows flickered behind, threatening to break through at any moment. What awaited them on the other side? An escape or an even darker reality hidden behind the facade of safety? Sarah and Noah emerged into a world washed in moonlight, yet the familiar comfort of night felt tainted. The air was still, not a whisper of wind, creating a suffocating sense of isolation. Sarah's heart raced as she scanned their surroundings, but the trees stood like silent sentinels, shadows looming larger than life, their twisted branches stretching out as if to trap them once more. Mommy, where are we? Noah's voice trembled, his wide eyes darting around in fear. The innocence in his question hit her like a punch, a reminder of how precarious their situation truly was. I don't know. But we have to stay together, she replied, forcing a smile that felt more like a mask, but the tension coiled tightly around her chest. She led Noah deeper into the eerie clearing, shadows flickering and dancing at the periphery of their vision. An old cabin loomed ahead, its silhouette jagged against the starless sky. Time seemed to crawl as they neared it, apprehension creeping under her skin. Noah, let us check it out. It's a building. Maybe it has a phone or something, she suggested, sounding far braver than she felt. As they approached, she noticed weathered planks that creaked with age and a door that hung loosely on its hinges. Or something bad, Noah murmured, clenching her hand tighter. Stay close, she said again, her voice barely rising above a whisper. Heart pounding like a war drum, she eased the door open, the old hinges whining in protest. Inside lay a forgotten space. Dust motes floated through the beams of pale moonlight, illuminating remnants of a life long gone. Look, Mommy, Noah pointed, his voice breaking through the silence. An old rocking chair sat in the corner, gently swaying as if it had just been abandoned mid-motion. The sight sent chills racing up Sarah's spine. Someone was in here, yeah. Just a chair, she said, forcing a chuckle to keep the fear at bay, but as she stepped further inside, the air thickened, pressing down on her like a wet blanket. Pictures lined the walls, their faces blurred and distorted, like they were trapped in a moment of horror. The shadows around the edges seemed to stretch toward her, beckoning her to look closer. Noah, don't wander. The words died on her lips as she turned to find Noah standing by a dusty old mirror, staring into it. His small face was lit by the moonlight, yet a darkness danced around him, features warped and flickering. Noah! She shouted, rushing towards him. But it was too late. His scream echoed through the cabin, high-pitched and filled with terror. Mommy, I see them. What do you see? What's happening? Sarah's heart dropped, panic clawing at her throat. The boy's eyes were wide with fear as he pressed against the mirror, his other hand reaching for her. They're coming, Mommy. The faces. I can't hold on. Terrified, Sarah yanked him away from the mirror, the glass shattering beneath the weight of unseen hands. The laughter from the shadows outside intensified, mocking, taunting. "You'll regret resisting. They belong to us." Gritting her teeth, Sarah pulled Noah close. "We need to go. Now." As they turned to flee, the air in the cabin shifted. The door slammed shut, trapped as though by unseen forces. Shadows slithered along the walls, crawling closer, their whispers mingling with Noah's cries. "Please. Let us out!" Sarah shouted, banging on the door, fear overtaking her reason. An echoing laugh filled the room. "You cannot escape the truth, Sarah. The past will always find you." With desperation boiling in her veins, she remembered the glimmer of light outside. What if they had only traded one nightmare for another? In her heart, she knew they must face the darkness again. Would they be strong enough this time? "Noah, hold on tight." Everything spun violently as the shadows surged, threatening to consume them whole. Just beyond the cabin walls lay another choice, one that might plunge them deeper into terror or offer a chance at escape. Could she muster the courage to face what awaited them just outside? The shadows twisted and churned around Sarah and Noah, almost alive in their urgency. The air crackled with tension as if the very walls of the cabin were closing in. With a howl, the darkness seemed to pulse, pressing on her like a weight. Sarah felt the suffocating grip of fear. She had to break free. "Mommy, I don't want to be here." Noah's voice quivered, tears streaming down his cheeks. He was small and fragile, a mere whisper against the chaos erupting around them. "Then let us go," Sarah shouted, more to herself than to him. She slammed her shoulder against the door, expecting it to give way. Instead, it resisted stubbornly until finally, with one furious push, the door flew open, releasing a gust of stale air that sent her stumbling back. The moonlight outside was brighter, almost blinding. But stepping into that light meant stepping into danger. The laughter of the shadows followed them, mocking and cruel. If they were going to escape, they needed to run. "Run, Noah! Run!" Noah clutched her hand, and together they sprinted into the dreadful night. The woods surrounding the cabin loomed ominously, twisted trees reaching for them like skeletal hands. Branches cracked under their hurried steps. They tore through the underbrush, hearts pounding like a drumbeat of dread. "Where do we go?" Noah gasped, looking up at her with wide, terrified eyes. "Just keep moving," she urged. "We need to find help." The moment they broke free from the trees and onto an old dirt path, Sarah hesitated. In the distance, a figure loomed, cloaked in darkness, watching with eyes that glinted like shards of ice. Goosebumps broke out on her skin. "Mommy, who is that?" Noah whispered, pulling closer. "I don't know," she replied, her voice shaking. "But we can't stay here." They pressed on, feeling the air become denser. Panic surged through them as they glimpsed movement in the peripheral. The shadows were alive again, skittering just beyond the edge of their vision. Just when she thought they might have a chance, an overwhelming sense of dread settled and, suddenly, an eerie silence fell. The wind stopped, the trees stood still as if awaiting something. The tension was suffocating. Sarah could hear her heartbeat thundering in her ears. Out of nowhere, a piercing scream echoed through the trees, sending a shiver down Sarah's spine. "Noah," she called, grabbing his arm as they came to an open space. "Mommy, I'm scared," Noah cried, looking around with wide eyes. A flicker of movement caught her attention, a shadowy form darting between the trees. She turned to run again, but the path twisted beneath her feet, leading them back toward the cabin they had just fled. Panic seized Sarah as she fought against it. "No! No, no! We can't go back!" The shadows loomed larger, morphing into grotesque shapes around them, whispers rising everywhere. "Noah, look!" she shouted, spotting a break in the trees leading to what looked like a long-abandoned road. "Over there!" "We can." Before she could finish, the figure appeared again, stepping into view, a woman, her face obscured by tangled hair, eyes sunken and hollow. "You think you can escape?" Her voice rasped, haunting. Sarah felt the breath drain from her lungs. "Stay behind me," she commanded, instinct taking over, but Noah had other ideas. In a moment of sheer terror, he broke free from Sarah's grip, darting towards the figure. Noah! Come back! Too late. The shadows enveloped him, merging with the woman's wraith-like form. Her chilling laughter echoed as Sarah's world collapsed around her. Mommy! Noah's voice was swallowed by the dark. Help! Despair clawed at Sarah's throat as time froze. She was torn between fear and the instinct to save her son. This was a nightmare, the kind where every choice felt wrong. Would she reach him in time? Or would the shadows claim them both? Hang on, Noah. I'm coming. But with darkness circling, would the cost of her bravery be too much to bear? What had she truly unleashed? In the shadow of the cabin, the past churned like fog, swirling with secrets waiting to be revealed. The path ahead twisted again, and Sarah found herself at a crossroads. Would the road lead to salvation or doom? Time was running out as she stepped forward, heart racing, toward the unknown fate that awaited them. The ground beneath Sarah's feet quaked with terror as she stood frozen, her eyes glued to the spot where her son had disappeared. The shadows seemed to mock her, swirling and laughing in a sinister chorus that pounded in her head. Noah, she screamed, the sound tearing from her throat. But it was swallowed into the abyss, lost amidst the dark. A desperation surged through her. She couldn't lose him. Not now. Not after everything they had faced. Gathering what remained of her strength, she sprinted toward the darkness that devoured her child, the forest closing in around her like a vice. Each step felt as if the ground was trying to pull her down into the loamy depths below, as if it conspired with the shadows. As she approached the spot where Noah had vanished, the shadows writhed and pulsated, an insatiable hunger emanating from them. She dropped to her knees, gripping her head, fighting to think through the spirals of panic. What do I do? What do I do? She muttered to herself, then she heard it, a soft whimper, a treasure of sound amidst the chaos. Mommy! Noah's voice was faint, barely a breath, but it sent a surge of adrenaline through Sarah. She leaned toward the darkness, clawing at the edges with frantic hands. I'm coming, Noah. Just hold on. Heart thudding, she called out to him. What horrible magic had the figure worked? She had to find a way to break it. Suddenly, the ground trembled violently. The trees twisted, their branches reaching out like grasping fingers. Sarah's breath hitched in her throat, fear curling in her stomach. She needed to act, quickly. Glancing back, she saw the figure watching her again, a halo of shadows dancing ominously around her. The eyes were now gleaming, brighter, hungry. This was not just a woman. This was something else entirely. Stay away from him! Sarah shouted, fear morphing into anger. The figure spoke, voice dripping with malevolence. He is lost now, just like you. Come join us in darkness. No! Sarah ground out, shaking her head, refusing to accept the inevitable. She could hear Noah's whimpers growing ever dimmer. The frantic beat of her heart drummed in her ears as she turned back to the shadows. I know you're in there. She screamed. Noah, come to me. You have to fight. Whispers filled the air like a sinister chant, swirling sharper around her. You can't escape, they taunted, wrapping around her like a cocoon. And then, from the depths, she saw movement small but unmistakable. A figure wincing as if trying to break free from a trap. Mommy! Noah's cry pierced her heart and spurred her into action. Bounding toward the shadowed mass, she thrust her hands into the darkness, forcing herself forward with every ounce of her will. She felt an icy grip coiling around her wrist, pulling her back, urging her to let go. But she wouldn't. Noah! Just a little closer! She shouted, clawing at the shadows, which twisted and tore at her flesh like the fangs of a beast. And then, she felt a tiny hand grasp her own. Mommy! Noah's voice was stronger now, desperation giving way to determination. She pulled with everything she had, dragging him from the swirling abyss. Sweat stung her eyes, heart raced, and muscles screamed in protest as she fought against the tide of darkness. Finally, they burst through. But the shadows didn't release their hold entirely. A force pulled on Noah, trying to drag him back. "Help!" he cried, his small frame trembling. "Noah, I won't let you go." Sarah felt the surge of her own will. She gripped him tighter, even as the figure emerged from the shadows, lunging toward them. "Foolish mortal!" it screeched, echoing with the voices of lost souls. "You cannot take him from me." With a final surge, Sarah pulled Noah into her arms, stepping back just as the shadows coiled up around her feet, slithering like serpents eager to tighten their grip. Standing together, they faced the figure, eyes locked with the hollow depths of its gaze. "Let us go, Noah," Sarah whispered, but she felt the doubt creep back. The path before them was shrouded in shadows. Where would it lead? Would it take them to safety or deeper into the darkness? Noah looked up at her, wide-eyed. "Mommy, it's still there." "Then let us run." With hearts pounding, they took off down the path, but the figure's laughter followed them, a chilling reminder that darkness was never far behind. What other secrets lurked in the shadows of this cursed wood? Would they ever truly escape the malevolence that hung in the air? As they raced onwards, breathless and terrified, the answer loomed just beyond the next turn, something waiting, watching. Sarah and Noah dashed down the narrow path, the laugh of the darkness echoing behind them like a taunt. The air was thick, almost viscous, pressing against them as they ran, each step feeling like an eternity. Ahead, the trees parted slightly, revealing a flicker of moonlight dancing on a hidden stream. "Mommy, please." Noah gasped, his tiny legs struggling to keep pace. "Keep going," she shouted, urging him on, her own breath heavy with fear. But the shadows weren't giving up. They surged closer, whispering promises that sent chills down her spine. "You can't escape your fate." It felt like 1,000 voices wrapping around her, trying to tether her to this dark fate. Yet Sarah's spirit was unyielding. "Noah, look!" she cried, pointing to the stream before them. "Water! We can wash them away." The glimmering water sparkled under the moonlight, calling to them like a beacon of hope. With unwavering determination, they sprinted toward the stream, and as they reached the cool water, Sarah felt an almost electric charge beneath her feet, the darkness flaring in confusion. With no time to waste, Sarah yanked Noah into the water, their feet sinking into the soft silt. It was cold, sharp against her skin. "This way, sweetheart. We have to cross." With frantic movements, they splashed across, the cool current pushing back against the shadows reaching for them. "Noah, hold on," she shouted as he faltered, fighting the water's pull. She knelt, grabbing hold of his hand as shadows lashed at the edges of the water. A voice rose from within the dark. "Foolish girl! You think you can outrun what you carry within?" The figure appeared again, ghastly and twisted, looming like a storm cloud ready to release its fury. "No!" Sarah shouted defiantly, her grip on Noah tightening. "You can't have us." She pushed further into the water, feeling the embrace of the stream protect them. With every step, the darkness sizzled, losing its grip on her sanity as the water churned below them. "Noah! We can do this together." She raised her voice, willing him to find strength amid the chaos. There was so much noise, whispers of longing and despair swirling around, trying to drown them both. "I want to go home," Noah screamed, his voice tremoring against the backdrop of dark laughter. "Then look to me," Sarah urged. "Remember the cookies? Remember the park? Remember how we laughed?" With each word, Noah's eyes seemed to clear. He nodded, the light of memory gathering strength behind the shadows in his gaze. "I remember," he shouted back. "I want to go back." The shadows recoiled, screeching as if they felt the weight of Noah's defiance. "This isn't your world." The figure boomed, its form flickering. "No," Sarah insisted, feeling the warmth of Noah's determination meld with her own. "This is my son. Their lies." And with that, she surged forward, leading Noah through the icy water, the current refusing to let them pass. "No! Come back!" The figure's voice shrieked, anger spilling through the air like poison. They were nearly at the opposite bank when the darkness lashed out again, flailing limbs targeting them like arrows. Shadows surged, swirling, threatening to snatch them back. Keep moving. Just a bit more. She could see the bank now only a few feet away, but the shadowy tendrils gripped her ankle, pulling her down. Gritting her teeth, she fought against their insatiable desire to consume them. Noah! She shouted over the dark chorus. Trust me. I won't let go. With every ounce of strength, she yanked free from the shadows and hurled herself toward the shore, pulling Noah with her. With a final burst of will, they broke free from the current, collapsing onto the bank just as the darkness crashed behind them, slamming into the water. Lurching forward, panting, Sarah turned back this time. She couldn't see the figure, only the angry bubble of shadows swirling against the stream, desperate and frustrated. Noah! She exclaimed as she clutched him close, their hearts hammering in unison. We did it! We escaped! Tears streamed down Noah's face, relief palpable in his small frame. Mommy, are we safe? Not yet, but we will be, she promised, voice steady in the cool night air. They moved together, away from the shadowy tendrils that still clawed against the water's edge. In the silence that followed, the world felt strangely calm. The woods were dark, but the oppressive fear that had rooted itself in her heart was slowly fading. They had made it through the worst. The unknown lurked heavily, but at least they were alive. We have to keep going, Sarah whispered, looking back one last time before leading Noah deeper into the woods, toward the glimmering horizon. Then they broke through the tree line, entering into an open field bathed in moonlight, the night air crisp and sweet. Ahead, she could see the outline of Maple Grove glowing gently against the dark. They were closer than ever to home. Mommy, we found the way back! Noah exclaimed, laughter bubbling forth, cutting through the remnants of fear that lingered. As they moved forward, shadows sprawled behind them, fading against the light of dawn forming in the distance. Looking back for a moment, Sarah knew the woods wouldn't forget them. They'd always remember the hunger, the darkness that whispered. Yet they had thought it was a declaration of their bond, the fire of love overcoming emptiness. Finally, they stood at the edge of Maple Grove. It wasn't the same as when they had first arrived, but it was home. Together, always, Sarah whispered, holding Noah close as they stepped into the soft glow of dawn. They were free. In that moment, hope blossomed anew. The shadows could haunt their memories, but they would never claim their hearts. As the light warmed the chill of the night, Sarah took a deep breath, knowing now what it meant to face the dark. Together, they walked toward the sunrise, ready to reclaim their lives, hand in hand. Now, wherever you are reading this, it's your turn. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss what comes next. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and support our channel in telling these incredible stories. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this ending, because we want to hear from you. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this conclusion. Let us spread the word together.